said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy... Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear with my man Brian.
Boom. That's me.
Your host, me, Joe.
Hey, it's Joe.
It's me. What's up? How are you?
I'm pretty good. Living the dream.
Oh yeah.
Just
Today we're talking Longlegs.
Ooh. The legs, they be extra long.
I mean, the extended gams, if you want to be cool about them. Yeah. I haven't been workshopping that joke since this movie came out at all. No.
No, that sounded fresh.
Yeah. Like before we get into Longlegs, like usual, what's new? What have you been watching? What's this?
Oh, hey, I'll tell you what. I started a letterbox finally. Everybody was on me.
And why aren't you following me?
I'm not following anybody. I just literally started it only to keep the diary.
You should. I think of all people.
But I haven't watched a ton of horror, but I did take a recommendation from our good personal friends, collaborators even, over at Red Letter Media. We're on the same level. They put out a little video about a movie called The King Tide.
Hello, Brian.
Yeah. The King Tide. It's available a couple different places, I think, it's streamer. But it was a good, not necessarily, definitely horror adjacent, more like a tense thriller with like some supernatural elements to it. But they recommended it, and I would endorse that recommendation. So
okay, good. Did you the audio did cut out a little bit? So
sorry.
I want to make sure what was the movie? Just real quick.
It was The King Tide.
The King Tide, was that on a like a best of the worst, or?
Well, they did one of their little, just like sometimes they used to do like Mike and Jay talk about when it's a movie that they like, but they don't want to spoil because they want people to go find it. What's the one that they did a couple of years ago, and now it got really popular with oh crap! See, I'm botching this. We shouldn't even endorse these other channels. You shouldn't be watching their content. You should be watching our content.
They're much better content, but whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
And they've been at it a long time. They're really good at it, even though they never have black guests ever.
Didn't notice. So that's on me. Maybe.
No women either, really. They had them at the very beginning.
No women.
The very beginning, they had a couple women on, and I think it just didn't go great because the demographic probably didn't accept that.
They work like collaborators.
I always go back, and this is a little Red Letter Media tangent, but like I do really enjoy their content, and I'll go back and watch the old like Christmas episodes or whatever, and I do miss when Jessie was on and she was funny, and it's just like you'll throw back when you watch those old episodes.
Give them the benefit of the doubt and say none of this was probably premeditated.
No, what I imagine happened, and I shouldn't even bring it up or throw them under the bus, but nobody's ever going to see this. Nobody cares. What it probably was is they just decided to stick with a core group of guys, and the only time they bring in people outside of that is like pseudo celebrities,
Macaulay
and shit like
Culkin.
that. Yeah, and they don't, I don't think it was like a personal thing. And the women thing, I do think it was more to protect the ladies that had been on the show than it was to exclude them. It was probably their choice to not want to be part of that anymore. Probably because when you're a woman on the internet, it's horrible.
Probably not good. Probably not great.
Yeah, good. Not so good. Anyway, that's a great little tangent. But they recommended a movie called The King Tide, and it was good.
That, I'll take your word. Yeah, we last time we talked, we actually spoke about before, I don't know, on this show we talked about it's kind of a cult hit-ish. You didn't hear of it before, the Session 9.
Okay, yeah.
Or you heard of it, but you said you saw it. Anyway, my Scream Factory came in, watched that, Good little thriller. Has that
Nice.
head scratcher. Definitely would get this like neon A24 moniker today. Group of asbestos removal workers doing old insane asylum and slowly, kind of
Yeah, it's
go
definitely one of
insane.
those where like I feel like I've seen that cover before.
You have the upside
You
or
know.
the not upside down, but like the decrepit wheelchair, and you've seen the
in
cover.
front of the old asylum looking building, and
It's
yeah.
worth I think it's worth a watch. Its runtime's pretty solid.
Yeah, I would check that. I would check that
It's like
out.
an hour
A
40.
90-minute banger, so
Yeah,
that's
it's like
our
an hour
bread and
40. Like
butter.
Longlegs, great runtime. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Longlegs. For some reason in my mind it was like 2 hours, but it's not. It's like a 145. It's like tight.
Even less. It's like one. It's almost 90 because.
Is it really? Because credits are like 7 minutes.
Yeah, because I don't real too much. Like I accidentally hit the skip, like it was like right at the end.
Oh yeah.
And the chapter went from like you would the way their chapters on the disc break up are like too long.
Yeah.
Where like it went right to the fucking credits roll of saying Longlegs. And I was like, oh, so yeah, it's like it's almost a 90.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But
we love it. We love to see it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I watched that, and then I've also been watching, which weirdly, and something actually kind of reminds me of Longlegs, and this would be a good way. I love my like tween kid horror stuff. I've been during work just like throwing on old episodes of R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour, which was the 2010s half hour. They were like a little heavy, I'm using air quotes for listeners, like heavier than like the Goosebumps. They're fine. There's some good ones. There's some bad ones. It's anthology horror. It's kid horror.
Yeah.
There is this one episode. I think it's the intro episode, and it's doll. It's like life-size dolls that.
Oh sure.
That like girl gets doll and the parents then become obsessed with the doll.
Yeah, I've seen pictures where it's like people have half doll face, right? Is that that one?
No.
Or is that a Goosebumps episode?
That's Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Okay.
This happens in that, but why? Not because of the doll. Well, because of the doll thing reminds me of Longlegs, but part of it is like the dolls are made to have like souls and then take on the soul of the kid, the child that's gifted it.
Okay.
And like the mother becomes obsessed with said doll instead of like her own daughter. But it's very like that same thing kind of described of like they look the same lifelike, and like the silver orb, which I'm sure we will talk about.
Oh, sure.
Which is such a MacGuffin of a mystery power. I'm like, oh, like it's always funny when I see these similarities between like these children's show episodes of anything we're watching, and then like these like here's this intense horror movie. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of something that came out.
It reminds me of when you're watching. If you watch, I saw the TV Glow. They have that element where it's like it's intense to you as a child, but I mean, does it translate? And it's like, but then is it real? But then there's a real scary version of it too. Like that's kind of like what this is. It's like here's like what an actual scary version of that is.
One of the just so I saw the TV Glow tangent again. I was talking about we want to revisit and like
absolutely.
One of the rare.
It's going to be a modern classic.
Yeah, and I would like to get that disc. One of that scene where he's like, or they're like, I stayed up all night. I stayed up late and watched my old, the Pinko Peg show, and it just didn't. It wasn't like I remember. It didn't hit. And I'm like, oh man. The way I've had that with those exact type of like 90s early 2000s like kid shows are like, oh, so much fun, and you throw it on, you're like, this isn't it.
That happened to me, especially in the early DVD era where everything was getting released on DVD and you were like, I remember that on TV and I barely ever got to see it. Now I get to watch it. That's awesome. And then you realize like the reason you ever saw 2 or 3 episodes of it is because it got canceled because it sucks. Yeah. And you're like, oh. And then you're watching the DVD that you just bought because with your limited dollars from working your shitty server job, and you're like, oh.
I think this is yeah. I definitely have a few of those. Like I have the secret. Actually, it fits in the Pinko Peg world. The Secret World of Alex Mack. I have one of those.
Like I definitely, my memory of that is very fond, but I bet it doesn't hold up great.
The episodes didn't play as fun as I wanted to, because I probably have watched them so much in my life. Like straight up, the Are You Afraid of the Dark. Like I have a soft spot, but like they don't. Some play well. The main one, it's weird because that movie's big influence that are in the movie is the Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Yeah.
Like they're in the movie, they're the neighbors.
Sure.
And that's one actually though, the irony is the episodes fucking hold up great. They hold up better. The Gen X of that show and the off humor and just
how you know that's a good show, because that is the first time I was ever introduced to Toby Huss, and if Toby Huss is in your project, you got a pretty good project going.
It's great. It also is the biggest fucking criminally flawed thing that they've never and will never release.
Yeah.
The third
season.
We
just R.I.P. Michelle Trachtenberg, very talented child actress, and she was on Pete and Pete, and I saw people talking about it. And people had also been talking about how it was like the kids' David Lynch. It's like this is like weird shit for kids. It was, that's some of my favorite like alt comedy and like weird absurdist stuff like that is always been very interesting to me.
Filmed in my hometown.
Nice.
Yeah. But they I know this because I remember like the creators, like I guess when podcasts were making their booms or whatever, like booming it, they went on and both Pete's do their own thing with podcasting. And when I was in middle school, Nickelodeon has this thing, the Nickelodeon Rewind, and they were going to come out with the DVD series of their 90s stuff. And
sure, I remember. Like, I think I have the first season of Clarissa Explains It All.
They released one season of Clarissa, maybe two. I don't remember. And then they released Pete and Pete one season and two. Both are now extremely rare. Even at the time, two was really rare. It's always weird of like what happened to season 3. The creators were like, I don't know, because they recorded commentary for season 3. They had the package. They were literally, they're probably destroyed now, but they were like, Paramount pulled the plug and they were just probably in a warehouse somewhere. And the guy's like, and they were like, if we had the episodes, we would just release them.
Upload them, yeah. Like,
but I'm sorry for this P&P tangent for anyone that's tuned
people
in.
Tune into our horror podcast mostly to hear about children's shows from the 90s.
And why it's set up, it's the same reason. I'll bring it back to horror, because of Tales from the Crypt, it's just fucking caught up in crazy copyright shit because of the music, music rights and things they use, because they were just like, hey, butthole surf. I don't know if butthole surfers were, but like, hey, butthole surfers and blah, blah, blah. Come do music for, and they were like, okay.
Sure, yeah.
And things with those stuff just got fucking destroyed.
Music rights is crazy. That's why, like, the Daria DVD set doesn't have any of the original music. That's why I was just watching SNL 50 just happened. And I was watching some old SNL. It got me, like, hankering for some old school SNL. And they have it all on Peacock, except that some of the episodes are only, like, 30 minutes long. There's never a musical act. Like, the musical acts are gone from every episode, which is fine for me, but it's just funny. It's like it's fine, but it's just hilarious that like you can't license any of that shit. But like I always wonder, I was like, damn, what was all these sketches? Did they just cut everything that was topical or what? Like,
that's weird.
It's usually like 2 or 3 sketches, a little bit and some update, and then that's it.
It's weird to me that the Daria DVD doesn't have, the official release doesn't have. Like,
yeah, they couldn't clear the licensing rights, and apparently that was a lot of the trouble with releasing the Drew Carey show for a long time too. Had to do with music rights, because there's a lot of weird music stuff in that show. Anyway, who knows?
Anyway, a lot of media we wish we could get back in their original form.
Yeah.
So today we were talking about Extended Games, Longlegs, directed by Oz Perkins.
This was the biggest horror hype train of 2024, right? Like,
yeah, I'll give it a thing maybe in like a 5-year bubble.
It was a pretty big one. It had the most effective campaign I've seen for a horror movie in a while.
It's marketing.
Like, a lot of people try the same shtick. It just worked a lot better with Longlegs.
Yeah, a lot of it was, they did do the thing of scariest movie I've ever seen, and a pull quote from like a horror, like someone in horror. I can't remember. Was that another Stephen King?
He's for sale for sure.
Because they just did that with.
He'll put that shit on anything.
They just did that with Osgood's other thing. It is a Stephen King property.
Well, that's an actual Stephen King property, yeah.
But they did shit like that, and the marketing was really good. It was like generally a scary trailer, and you didn't see much. And they
People
talked,
knew Nick Cage was involved, and he was a producer
they
too.
talked about
and
all
like,
of Nick Cage's, there was such hush hush around what did he look like? He was playing a big part of the marketing, which is not even a real fun fact because you got to take, I believe, this shit with a grain of salt. It's like, here's Micah Monroe's actual heart rate from the first time she saw. That was a big part of their marketing. Was like,
yeah,
the
that
heart
was,
rate.
and honestly, that's a cool gimmick. It's a thing you can probably only get away with once, but it was slick. It was pretty slick.
It was slick, and I saw it opening weekend.
Yeah, I fully
And-
bought in. I was there opening
And
weekend.
it worked. Put it this way: the marketing worked on me in the sense opening weekend. I didn't get to hear the flood of people then post going. That wasn't really what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is weird because I don't know what people were expecting.
I think they're expecting just like a heart. I thought about this quite a bit because I remember at the time when we left, my friend, she was like, "Oh, that was kind of campy, wasn't it?" And my initial reaction was, no. I mean, like the performance was a little bit, but no. And then like I've rewatched it now, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's some camp in areas, but I wouldn't call it campy.
No. I think I could see a tendency to think about that because of Nick Cage's performance, because it's so big. But I don't think it's particularly campy. And we were talking about this before we got on camera. I went a little farther, and I actually watched this movie a third time. I saw it in the theater like you. I had not seen it since. I would say I was pretty pleased with it. Hype train aside, I thought it was good, a very solid movie. But I did see a little of that backlash that's inevitable with a movie that has
that's what I saw my second watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so this was then I did a second watch for the show. And then I did just kind of like a cursory background watch today again, just kind of like get the vibe again and just see if there's anything else that jumped out at me. And there were a few things. But, just to get ahead of it, I think the hype is fairly justified. I'm on the record as kind of a bit of an Oz Perkins stan. Low key, but I'm like one of the few Gretel and Hansel defenders. I think Blackcoat's Daughter was a great debut for him.
Blackcoat's Daughter, Hansel and Gretel. I'm missing one.
I think Longlegs is it. The third one.
Is that it? Is that it? I mean,
because then he's already had the monkey come out, and that just feels quick.
Yes. No. You're correct. He is basically there's something called I am the pretty thing that lives in the house.
That might be before, though. That might be a little older.
No, it's before. That's between Blackcoats and Gretel.
And Gretel. Okay, yeah. Okay.
He has a third movie coming out in, or another movie coming out in 2025, it looks like.
Another written and directed by him. This, Longlegs.
Keeper.
That's the thing about the monkey's an adaptation. He directed, he's more, collaborator, obviously. He wrote more, somebody else's work. But this was written and directed. This is his whole, Longlegs is his whole baby here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like its hype was, this consensus. No, it's fair.
I don't think it's a perfect movie. But I don't think it's like the best horror movie that I saw last year, because Oddity was the best horror movie I saw last year.
You asked a question, and I'm gonna try to answer it though.
Yeah.
What did people expect? And I think I could answer that.
Fair.
I think people expected such a visceral, serial killer, satanic thriller that to say by the numbers would do it disservice. But I think people were expecting the type of scares they got. And I know this isn't that, but something as scary as watching Hereditary for the first time, or The Conjuring, going in and be I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Right. I
could see that. And this
I think it doesn't deliver on that, and in the sense of, because this, for me at least, and I guess we're not good judges because we fucking host a horror podcast, but like the scares and imagery is there, and then things move along enough where I'm like, oh, I got nothing to be too spooked about.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's what I imagine people were expecting.
Yeah, I would say if I had to, like, again, I don't really go out of my way to read reviews anymore or like watch. I'll listen to a podcast from the people I listen to podcasts
Mhm.
about a movie, but this was like that was months ago, so I don't really remember. But I would have guessed if I had to that some of the criticisms of this one are gonna just be that it's a little derivative. It definitely has that like Tarantino thing of I'm taking like I'm pulling a lot from the last 30 years of crime movies and I'm
Oh,
kind of mixing it up and I'm putting my own stink on it and I'm like, and I'm presenting a little bit and I think it's original enough. Like I feel like he does his own thing enough and he has his own vibe enough
I
that I
like how
think that's all
weird he
passable. And also the
gets.
filmmaking is really good. I don't
I like
think
how weird he
that
gets
helps.
with it.
Yeah. And
And yeah, I agree. He he's pulling from a ton, and when we go through the
oh
beats
yeah,
of the
as
movie,
we're
we'll
talking about
mention
it, we'll just bring up, we'll be like,
and
this is a reference, this reminded me of
and
this, that's gonna
and
happen.
and I remember that during this movie, his run, like Oz Perkins himself, and why you said like he's also just kind of like, this is the silliest word term to use, like a scoundrel, like a scamp, like a
Yeah,
little
he's a bit of a scamp, I agree.
like he's very like he did an AMA for this, and I'm just pulling from memory, and it's like, oh, what is this and what does this represent? And it was just like, I don't know, it's fucking cool. No, I don't care about like generally like, oh, you think that religious theme was in it? It's not. It's kind of there. It's not. Like
Yeah,
I put things in there to be conflicting in its ideologies of anything.
yeah.
So I'm like, and like I'm kind of like, yeah, watching the movie the second
But I
time, like
also feel like
it,
that's a
it's
filmmakery way of being like, haha, now I don't have to, I don't know, no accountability to my continuity in some places.
and it,
If it's weird, I meant to make it like
yeah.
that.
And on the second time, it does somewhat play like that, where I'm like, oh, like, because it is funny to think, because the first watch, right, this is a mystery at the end of the day, right? It's
Sure.
an FBI thriller, it's a mystery.
It's a
You
serial killer movie. It's,
yeah, it gives you all it's one that just goes, nope, here's the whole answer.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of up top. A lot of it's up top. And when you know what's coming, yeah, there's plenty of stuff to like see that they were leading you down that path, for
Mhm.
sure.
Um,
We should talk just a little bit about the cast too.
this casting is what makes the movie.
Well, and it's a real tight cast. Obviously, Micah Monroe, who is fast becoming, a scream queen.
She's low key in a lot of fucking horror movies.
Yeah, she has done and good ones. She's done some
Mm-hmm.
very good work. The Guest, It Follows. Um,
The Watcher, if
obviously,
anyone watched that.
obviously, they sold this movie off the back of Nick Cage, and Nick Cage is a fucking legend. Amazing turn for Alicia Witt, who I have had a crush on for years.
So that same. That is my first note of her, is like that it's such brilliant casting.
Yeah.
Alicia DeWitt actually not looking like good looking Alicia DeWitt, and like
Just
Adrian
Witt, not DeWitt.
sorry, I always say DeWitt.
That's okay. You're thinking of Joyce DeWitt from, what's that? She was from Three's Company.
Sure, that's not what I was thinking.
That's not what he was thinking of because Joe's very young.
But no, but she, for me, it's like, yeah, okay, we're not gonna urban legends, but then like this silly girl, like The Last Holiday with Queen Latifah.
She's got she's in The Sopranos. She got that great episode of Sopranos with Christopher. Incredible episode with them.
But and then my favorite casting of the whole thing, because really Alicia is like right there. It's such a brilliant turn for her. Kieran Shipka.
The Kieran, I was gonna say, I didn't know if we were gonna wait for her because it's almost like a cameo.
It's a cameo.
It's like a Black Coat's daughter reunion a little bit. Like
what's awesome about that too is Kieran Shipka was the year of her being like, is that Kieran Shipka in 2 movies?
Yeah, she popped up. What was the
In
other
Twister,
one?
in the intro
Yeah,
of
she's in
Twister,
Twist.
she's the girl who
She's in the first part
she's
of
one of the
Twister,
girls who
right?
dies.
Yeah.
And like she also is dressed. She they put her in a costume. You know, she has like glasses and her hair's different. And
by the timeline of this movie, she is supposed to be like 30 though, and I don't think she plays 30.
oh, I guess when you put it that way, yeah, no, she looks like the girl. Like she looks younger than Kieran Shipka looks when she's in the insane asylum.
Yeah.
You know, or a mental hospital.
Yeah.
But well, let's call her like a malnourished 24.
Yeah, that's kind of what she looks like, but that's okay. It's still fun to see her, and I think you like really underrated Blair Underwood performance here.
She's only 25.
Yeah, and she's playing a little older than her age, but they figure they give her the big dark circle. She's in the insane asylum. They're like, she can play older.
Such a fun fucking performance.
But I love Blair Underwood. I think he's got a little bit of a thankless job for most of it, but he does get to have some fun at the very end.
Yeah.
And you got to give it up Blair Underwood for looking like exactly like I remember him looking on TV in the 90s.
And what show was that for?
Oh, was he on Homicide?
Life on the Street? LA Law.
Oh, it was LA Law. Okay.
Yes, that's main cast, 2 seasons. So
the only people I remember from LA Law are Corbin Burnson and Jimmy Smits. But I never even watched LA Law. I just know that they were on it.
We just had a whole episode where we talked about Corbin Burnson on LA Law.
And how I thought he was a big star, and turns out not so much. He's a TV guy.
It's a good, and he's in a ton of, I'm looking at Blair Underwood's credits. He was in a ton of fucking shows and movies.
Oh yeah, he's worked all the time. But like, I just was like, just a great spot for him to show up, kind of playing off, how people remember him,
Yeah, good for
him.
And
looking almost exactly like I remember him.
And One Life to Live, regular class member.
So movie opens with a classic 70s near kidnapping, they just happened all the time back then. Everybody in a station wagon was scared was going to snatch a kid.
It opening too on like different aspect, the use of aspect ratio.
Oh yeah.
Big fan. But yeah, shows up and it's just weird enough, but they don't fully give you anything.
I mean, I think it's funny. I was actually thinking how they give you a ton in this first scene. They don't give. I feel like there were some mysteries coming into like what's Longlegs? What's that gonna mean? They immediately established that the character, the person, they are Longlegs. Mm-hmm. Why that they chose how that nickname works, like what the deal is about. Like I brought my long legs. That's where they got it. It's their creepy little thing, I just thought it was funny that like they show you the face. They get it's quick.
Well, they
but
show
you see the full like he comes pretty much in frame.
Yeah.
But I would say I was like, wow, I was really surprised that they were willing to give up that much in the beginning.
Because I know you're saying, Joe, you're giving Perkins too much credit here. I don't think he actually cared about any of the mystery of the movie.
No, I don't. I agree. I don't think it's about that part of it.
But yeah, it is. What I mean,
especially not at the beginning. I think that's what he's doing. Is like all these dumb little mysteries. They don't mean anything. This little thing about the name, that's all silly stuff. Nobody cares about that. Like, we're gonna get our story going now.
But yeah,
we have opening a lozenge. Or you got some.
No, I'm like, how like if fidgety, there's staples in a condom wrapper. No, it's not staples. Things. I was just fidgeting with shit.
I could hear it. It's a crinkling.
I am sorry for anyone listening. Brian was telling us very important
ASMR video. Now we're just gonna crinkle.
No, that's not cool.
You opening a chip bag over there?
Sorry. Very much sorry. No, it's a good intro, and then it cuts a little. Before that, you starting the movie off with the quote from the band T-Rex is very like, the fuck?
I love, what this movie reminded me of? The use, because what basically becomes apparent is that Longlegs uses metal music as like spells. It's like the way he casts spells. Also, real quick, I keep saying he. There's been some talk online that Longlegs is trans.
No, I shouldn't say no.
Well, I was gonna say here. Let me give my theory. I don't know if
Okay.
I've read anything about this, so let me just
I've read
real quick.
about it.
It's not if Longlegs is trans. It's not like a gender or a sex thing. It's more human to doll transition. Like Longlegs seems to be trying to become a doll.
Not quite, and I believe this is exactly what like Cage developed and Perkins developed. Also, by the way, it's rhetoric like that, not to get on my horse, fucking doesn't do any service to any trans person when you try to. Anyway, sorry, that shit is so like.
But it's just like
the
one of those things like
people trying to like transvestigate Kurt Cobain today and being
it's not even. I mean, like even if it's done from a place of like we need to respect Longlegs as pronouns, it's still like I just don't think that's what the movie was trying to convey.
No. So this is what it is, and Longlegs is supposed to be someone who's obsessed with the purity, like wanted to be a glam metal rocker.
Sure.
And was obsessed with the purity of that, and styled his look and his hair off that, but kept getting plastic surgery on top, and hiding and trying to hide it and stay clean and youthful, so he could appease Satan himself. Like that's what. And
I think I kind of like my theory better.
Yeah, I like your theory better. But if you look at his
Oz Perkins, I'm changing the meaning of your movie.
If you look at like the way he looks, knowing that, you go, oh, okay, I see what they were doing here. Yeah. Like
the only problem, I mean, not that it's not a problem, but it's like I like the idea that he is obsessed with glam metal, and I like the idea that like he uses metal music as like his spell casting, but also the Longlegs murders start in like the mid '60s. Which doesn't jive with like the satanic panic. It's almost like they should have jumped everything up 20 years so that when they're investigating it would have been the mid 80s when he got started. And then that's where, I think that's not really
I thought that this time, knowing what I just said, like this, I just did quick Google, like, dad, and then the surgery is fucked up and he's trying to hide. Yeah. He should have looked different from that like first meeting Lee to like the end, and not like a real.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen some more changes, some more like as we're seeing him through the timeline. I
like he's a little smoother, like because I could just see the.
Oh yeah, he's definitely younger and a little smoother in the opening scene for sure. Because we get to go back to that, so you definitely see the contrast. But
yeah, so it says Perkins revealed did something. It just ended up making sense that I would make Longlegs into this glam guy who had sort of had his life disrupted in the 70s. He just wanted to be a glam rock guy. He maybe plays a guitar kind of badly in his mom's basement, and one day his life changed and he had to go to work for the devil.
Yeah, I mean, that's all valid to me. I like all that.
Yeah. But like
I said, I might have fucked around with the timeline a little bit to like line it up with the like Boone of hair metal. I feel like he's a little ahead of the game, I
guess that's where like T-Rex. I guess what's T-Rex is like mid 70s.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess when I'm thinking of glam, I'm actually thinking of more near the end of the road of glam metal. And I guess it really did start more in the mid 70s. So
Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but when we say glam, though,
because like you could even be talking about Led Zeppelin at that point. You can talk about Aerosmith at that point. So
it's so anyway, they have that encounter, and then we cut right to after like a cool intro credit sequence. We cut to like just FBI room.
We meet Micah, and that's her. She's Agent Lee Harker, but yeah, she's clearly like a newer cadet.
Autistic.
They're getting ready to go do some grunt work. They're going to do some door knocking. They're looking for they don't really tell you what the guy has done. They just are like, this guy's dangerous,
Go canvass these areas.
These are the type of areas he likes to hide out in or whatever.
Immediate Silence of the Lambs vibes. It's clearly the biggest influence on this movie.
Yeah, I actually was leaning more toward Manhunter.
Same shit.
Yeah, but I mean specifically because of the family murders and stuff. Like,
I'm talking about aesthetic.
oh yeah, well, right, because obviously the Clarice Starling vibe and everything. But I mean, like, specifically when they bring her on to the actual case, and it's all these like family murders, and she's looking through the pictures, that all feels super Manhunter-y to me.
Yeah. But yeah, they thought this, and she's clearly on the spectrum of some sort. And
yeah, well, she has some kind of ability, and this is this little scene is just there to establish that.
She has a sense.
Sixth sense, yeah.
She's
she kind of immediately picks the house where she thinks the guy is.
She goes, it's 142 up there, and the guy, she's like, and to her credit, she goes, we should call backup. And the guy, to his credit, goes, kind of ridiculous to call on a hunch to not even knocking,
knock on the door. Yeah, well, her partner has the most severe bone structure I have seen this side of a Willem Dafoe. He looks crazy.
I gotta take another look at him. I wasn't really looking at him.
He's got a point. His face has so many angles and points.
He's jagged. He should have been able to take that bullet then.
Yeah, right.
And that's the first big fuck. I remember the theater going, this movie utilizes sound really good.
Yeah.
My other takeaway when I left the theater, I'll just say it now because it's a corner watching movie. Like the whole time I was just watching the corners and background and not the actors to see if, waiting for something. That's what you do for at least I do.
Yeah.
For jump scares. I'm like, oh, there's gonna be something. Okay, what's gonna happen in the
corner on the periphery here?
And it's so funny because there are things that happen in these frames. Nothing fucking happens in any of those corners, any of those frames.
No, not
there's a few things I'll that are really clever that we can mention down the road, but
yeah.
Anyway, her partner who she's out with gets fucking popped off in the head, and she runs up, and the guy's just sitting in his bed.
See, I thought this was weird. Why would you shoot the partner and then just give up and go sit down? You think you'd at least try to kill them both? I thought it was weird.
Is that part of what we learn later?
Well, right. Does it have something to do with her? She's
protected from this entity.
Yeah, and so this guy just settles down because she's kind of she's not to be touched, kind of
That's, it doesn't make sense in time, but we have all the facts.
We have the pieces. We've seen the whole
I think that's
story.
probably why, he was because he was sitting up on that bed, and we don't really ever.
Because of what we know, and technically, the plan is to get her on this case, so this could all be part of the setup to work her that direction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To kind of, throughout the movie, Longlegs is handing her evidence to help her ascent through the FBI, and so this could be this could definitely be something from this could be the first stage of that.
And then she goes to that, and I guess what would be they're kind of psych training test.
Yeah, they're gonna see if she gets to be in the X-Files. They're gonna put her in the X-Files.
It was cool that it was not Rorschach, but that test is the disc menu.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice. I was gonna say because the benefits of third watches.
Yeah.
I did notice as they go through those, and she says, she's doing the word association with the images. There's an inverted triangle, which will obviously come back later. But she says father when she sees it.
Oh, and the devil's the father, Satan's the father.
That's
yeah.
But I'm sure there's more, throughout that. But I just thought that was interesting. That
it's
that moment.
That's what I was referring to. There's those interesting things when she says, "I'm sure you saw." I paused and during at the end her mother's VO thing, and she says they literally, as soon as they say the word devil, a big black cloud forms around her around her body.
Her,
but if you pause, you'll go, oh, there is kind of nothing there. You just have to see the transaction happen. I think that happens a dozen times in the movie, so it makes sense that the word association from almost anything has a meaning to line up at least what they think we want to. Did you ever? I played a little bit of last year or this past summer. It's just too long, not for me, but it's also vibes of the way like they investigate and the aesthetic, the Alan Wake video games.
Oh, I'm familiar with them. I never played them, but I know what you're
It's
talking
the
about.
same, like they're FBI and they're pulling things and putting it on boards, and it's like
Yeah.
oh, this is like, it's creepy, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's all the same. But anyway,
Well, and like I said, like the Manhunter thing, because to me she's very Will Graham coded, because he had that sixth sense also, that kind of like, you know, he read, obviously not supernatural in those movies, but so after she takes her little test, you know, they talk about how she's half psychic, but she gets put on a new serial killer case, family murders. We find out Longlegs has been operating for about 30 years. We're in the Clinton era, by the way. This takes place in like the
huge
mid-90s.
huge picture of Bill Clinton.
Yeah. And then but they've been going on since basically the mid 60s. And there've been, was it 10 families that they've found so far?
The number, well, we're believed to be, all these numbers are important.
Yeah. Well, because
yeah.
there's like 10 when they're talking now, but then there's like 3. It's kind of a 7 thing where we're getting the last couple of families as the movie goes on. So, and then it ends up being, you know, the important number or whatever. We set up some quick things about like the killer. The families always have a daughter with a birthday on the 14th of the month. The murders take place within like 6 days of that.
And
there's never any physical evidence that Longlegs was in the house, except that Longlegs leaves a letter with like a cryptic message, like Zodiac style.
Yeah, very, very Zodiac influenced.
Yeah.
In the writing of it, not like our beloved film. The murders all occurred within 6 days before or after said birthday.
Of the 14th, yeah. Only one has on the 14th. But then you find out as they go on and they're investigating, each one was a different day within the 6-day window. So they're all like, there's a pattern there.
Yeah.
I love, so, you know, she does her like montage of looking at evidence, and then Blair Underwood's like, come tell me about what you saw or whatever.
She's
and that's
like,
what
I don't drink. And he's like, yeah, but you can watch me drink.
You watch me drink and you can tell me it's stuff you saw. But then she takes him home, and even the first time I saw this movie, when they introduced Blair Underwood's family, like, oh, this there's never been a deader family that ever was murdered. Like, there's
such a tell.
It's such a vibe immediately. You're like, oh, this is bad news for this family.
And now on like, you know, another rewatch, like the daughter, right? She's up alone in the thing. Remember, like, she's on the spectrum a bit, and like Micah Monroe or Lee Harker doesn't know how to really communicate with kids, and I love really
when he's like, coming to meet my family, and she goes, do I have to?
Yeah. Really so one of the only like semblance I think of like the movie like has like chill is like her talking to the daughter, and her going, and then when they go, oh, like, come to my birthday, and she's like, okay, yeah, you're like,
well, they establish that obviously, like, when they're talking to Blair Underwood, that's when they go over the thing about the kids and the birthdays and the murders. And then immediately in the next scene to have the daughter be like, you're coming to my birthday party, right? Like, they could not, like I said, Oz Perkins is not being subtle with some of this. He's not, it's like a mystery for dummies. He's like guiding you. He's like, come on, here you go. You're ready. Baby's first mystery. Let's
figure it out. You figure it out. I mean, like, yeah.
Well, and then, like, it's the scene right after this. Harker goes home to her improbable Art Deco cabin that only exists for a horror movie.
And that's horrifying. It's a fucking all wood, scary ass, no light house.
Yeah, it's like the house from The Lodge, but she lives there all the time, and it's
that's why I'm like the Alan Wake thing. Like, that's also in like Oregon. You know, they're in like rainy,
all rainy and dreary.
Fucking everything's wood. They probably.
Why is your house so far away from civilization? Like, why do you live out in the middle of nowhere like this?
And yeah, she goes there, and like it's just an intense scene. That's a corner watcher, and yeah, things like happen to us. But she speaks to her mother.
And this is a very interesting. I was really paying attention because I wanted to make sure there's a distinct way they play this. She's not cold. There's like a distance between them, and like obviously her mom seems kind of aloof. But it's important to note that it's also clear that she like there's legitimate love there. It doesn't feel like they're estranged. You know what I mean?
It felt like the relationship of my mom's sad and lonely. I'm trying to do my best to not be. I like to check in on her, but I'm not trying to go hang out with her. That's the way I read it.
There's a thing they do also every time she calls her mom. Her mom says, "Lee." It's like, yeah, she's still just your only daughter, like the only person who would be calling you and saying "mom" to you. But the more I watched it, the more I thought about it. It's like, well, who is she getting calls from that are confusing her about this? You know what I mean? Who's calling her and talking to her, and then she thinks she's talking to Lee, and it's not Lee. You know,
That's a
like
good
with what we
read.
know about what's going on with her and her mental state, and who is around her and what her circle is like.
And that's a good observation, because
because again, that's third watch shit. That's like, I've seen this too many times now, and I'm like,
now you're like, I
need
a 2-year break before we go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Halloween time.
And even at the very end, not to skip, but like Lee answers the phone and we hear a crazy voice, you know, tell her to go to Ruby's birthday and stuff. And so it's like, that made me think about it too.
Yeah, what
like,
was that? Who was that?
What's that? That's a good question.
That
That's the man downstairs.
That was
my friend who lives downstairs.
Well, the man who lives downstairs was Longlegs, also, because he lived in their fucking basement of that
But I
tiny
also
house.
think that the man who lives downstairs is the devil.
It's the devil.
Eat a devil.
It's the devil. But she does get that call, which is truly the only thing, or one of the few things you go, yeah, I can't pinpoint that one where it came from.
Yeah. So she's talking to her mom, and we get, again, this is that thing where I feel like I can see where the criticisms came in, because we do some very rote tropes here, as far as like the knock at the door, look around, you see something, you go out to investigate, they go in the house, you know what I mean? It's all, the filmmaking is great. Like, Oz Perkins got a great eye. It's scary. He knows like how to do all the tricks. He knows where to put the sting. He knows how to have long legs in the window when she's outside and everything.
That frame is set up.
Yeah.
All the time to do with this, and two open spaces below and above that just go dark and you can kind of see.
Yeah.
Anytime, whether the letter is there or before, and you're watching, I know both spots to go.
My wife, even she said the same thing. Like when Micah Monroe goes back inside and the letter is there, and we know Longlegs has been in the house the whole time she's looking at the letter, you're watching corners behind her. Every time they show her, you're like, what's going on in this? He's still around. Where is he? Like,
but but yeah, you're right. It's a full blown trope.
And like I said, done well, but I bet I just know there are people out there who get hung up on that shit, and I guarantee there were some people complaining that this movie doesn't have enough original moves, you know, like that a lot of its stuff is lifted. I'm not saying that. I don't think that's a valid criticism personally. I think it's elevated. I think there's homages here, obviously, but there are moments where I was kind of like, I guess I was just like, yeah, we kind of know what I just want to get through this part so you can get to the letter and get to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's no other. I know
you gotta get lured out and then blah blah blah, but like, just get on with that.
There's no other moment there, right?
Right.
Because she reads this letter, she gets it. It's a birthday card.
9th birthday.
What's convenient about that letter, too, is now, like, so we're looking back, is as soon as she's almost done with like. Her mother calls in between again. Yeah. You know, they communicate.
Because she had to like jump off the phone with her, so her mom's like calling back, "Are you okay?" That kind of
stuff. But I think she has a clock in her head also, where she's like, legs is around.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
He lives he's a roommate of theirs.
They are roommates.
You think they ever like, hey, like, Raymond's on? Do you want to? The Cheers finale's on. You want to watch?
At first no, but like as the
eventually
montage at the end shows, she definitely started to get more into it. So I bet eventually they were hanging.
Yeah, he fucked her up like once, like early on, and then after that it was like, I will bore you.
Yeah, we can talk about it when we get there, but she can kind of get on board a little too quickly for my taste.
But so
he gives her Longlegs again, like assisting. He wants her to know, so he like gives her the key to the cryptic so she can figure out all his messages. Although he does warn her that if she tells anybody, that he'll kill her mom. So it's like she does kind of have to start lying right away, like, and not like withholding evidence from Blair Underwood.
And but then we do have a follow-up on that the next day. It's like, actually, no, not even that. It's like a little bit, like, truly like minutes after her letter, gets a call and it's like, hey, it's work, you gotta come in. And they go to a crime scene with a dead child covered in maggots from one of the murders.
Dead family, been there a month, but the cat's still alive, so we know what that means.
And so this is another
Cats
thing
eat your fingers and they eat your eyelids.
It's another thing that they show of everyone else puking and fucked up by it, and Lee Harker's just like, okay, let me see it.
Yeah, Lee Harker just takes it in. But I think there's going to be something we're going to talk about in a minute. I think it's important to see her non-reaction to this so that you can get so it pays off here coming up quickly. She has another call with her mom. There's some not so subtle imagery while she's on the phone of like a staircase with a blinding light at the top, and she's down in the pit. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like,
I forgot. I wish I like had notes from the movie, like the theater, because there was a moment in the movie theater. It wasn't then where I did figure. I was like, oh, the mom. Oh yeah, like she's on, and like it's not too early for me, but it was that like mid to later point. I think it was the room. Oh, it was not right we're about to get, but the room that there's a room you can't go into in the house.
When she visits her mom the first time.
Yeah.
Well, she definitely has a weird conversation that time too. The whole thing about you were allowed to live is like a pretty big.
Yeah,
you were allowed to grow up.
I was
it's
like,
kind of like a pretty big marker.
Not fully, but I was always like, there's some there.
Well, also, and not to harp on movies like this, but when your horror mystery movie only has like 5 people in the cast, and like one of them is a name
and one of them is a cast member you don't even know yet until you see the cameo come up.
Right,
you could do process of elimination.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that does work against some movies in this way. Like, it's great, but like lack of options. Scream worked because there were so many cast members. The fucking sheriff could have been the killer, but this is, you got your tight little indie horror cast with all your heavy hitters. But
speaking of that, less than 10 million, around 10 million, the thing brought in $27 million. Wow,
damn.
It just says box office, so I imagine that's worldwide, but that's great. Good.
That is really good.
But so yeah, you're saying about that. See the dead kid, see the body with maggots.
Yeah.
And she does figure out the triangle at this point.
See, this is my real criticism with the movie, and it's more about the kind of like, it's like you were talking about Oz Perkins. I don't think he cared that much about. He just needed to get from point A to point B, because I think the kind of code breaking element of this is pretty lazy. Like, she finds the upside down triangle, but like, she makes that chart herself. That's just like a random list of numbers. So like, she set up the thing, and then it makes the thing she wants to find. I don't know. I just don't think the police work holds up 100%. But I think it more has to do with the fact that she knows things she's not supposed to know.
Yeah.
Like, and she goes and starts looking at cult books. There hasn't really been anything to indicate there's like devil worship going on or cult shit. But because of just
circumstance,
a vibe, she gets a vibe,
Yeah, it's not giving the same hand, which is such a weird thing with Poe. Is like, it's not the like, Zodiac Robert Graysmith becoming obsessed with puzzles, or even like let's do a fake movie, Prisoners.
Yeah.
Where it's like the codes in the way they were trying to break down that serial killer or kidnapper, the direction and writing were like, no, we want to get this right. Denis Villeneuve was like, I got to figure this out before we film it. I think you said Osgood was like, this looks cool, this sounds good, we'll get to point A.
He's like, I want to do a thing here, but I'm not beating myself over the head to get it all percent. Basically, I needed her to get from point A to point B, and I think this is good enough. You know,
we gotta get to the point where we find, a doll on the floorboards.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's like. The when she figures out the cryptids, there's a couple different messages about the camera farm, which this part confused me a little bit because it seems like this is a fairly famous murder that they are just now realizing is a Longlegs killing. Like, basically, the letters make them help them figure it out. Because Blair Underwood makes it mention like, oh, I was in a different office back when that happened or whatever. Like, and you get the idea that it was never investigated as part of the Longlegs thing. I don't know if they never found a letter there.
Maybe they just never found a letter or any of the clues because...
and we find out because the way the Longlegs thing works is the whole family has to get killed, mom, dad, and daughter, and the daughter survives. She wasn't at home when the killings happened, and so maybe that's what made it special and fucked it up, and that's why Longlegs didn't leave his letter or whatever.
Yeah, but maybe
he does keep mentioning it in his other letters, so I don't know. Like, I guess I was a little...
Yeah, maybe it was the one... Yeah, it was probably the one failed one, like failed one.
Kind of like the one that got away a little bit or something.
And and once again, we know he knows where Shipka, like it's Kieran Shipka. We know he knows where she is eventually.
Yeah.
Or do we? Was he the one to visit? But
so they decide to go to investigate that camera farm where those murders happened, and that's where what you just referenced. They find a doll under the floor of the barn. This is our first meeting of the doll. There's important to note probably that there's a cross nailed to the floor, and they rip up the floorboards, and the doll is under the cross.
Literally not literally, because it would say the X marks the spot, the T marks the spot. Like, they go through it. That's her one. Also, since like there, gotta get to the floor. They dig out, and like speaking of their marketing, this was another effect of the marketing because there was these like black cloaked figures with eyes coming through them, and you're like, what's that? Because it doesn't, you don't know if it's a doll or this. They're dolls, and it's cool. I think it's cool how they shoot it and have it.
It's kind of like you're seeing like the possessed version of the doll, like. Mm-hmm. That's like the cloak thing is like, seeing it's kind of true form. It's true.
And I love how it's shot with the doll on the morgue slab, basically. Yeah,
they're doing kind of like exactly. It's again, we're doing the Silence of the Lambs, the autopsy trope. That's classic. Yeah. Oz knows the type of movie he's making. He wants to hit these hallmarks,
And they go through it, and they're like, all right, well, can you open its brain? And it's like...
Its brain is a little metal ball that's empty inside. It says
nothing in it.
But they ultrasound it, so there's nothing in. They know there's nothing in it.
Yeah. And so then...
I love the one the guy says that when he's ultrasounding it, he hears his ex-wife's name.
Yeah.
And so that's just a fun little detail. Because, like, when he starts ultrasounding it, that's the first time Micah Monroe has, like, a little glitch. But that's the first time in the movie since the very beginning that we flash back to Longlegs. We actually see Longlegs in his workshop. 14. Also, the thing I almost forgot, we almost went past it, but I wanted to mention... When they find the doll under the floorboards, that's the moment where Micah Monroe reacts. Like, she has no reaction to the corpses, but when they find the doll, she's like shocked by that. And there's something clearly like a core memory of hers, wrapped up in that she's reacting to.
And it happens later on with her mother.
Mm.
With her mother and the doll, like, not
right. Well, and we know, like, eventually in the voiceover you do hear, but like they say, like, the doll not only helps her with her sixth sense, but it helps her forget. Like, she probably doesn't remember the doll.
She doesn't remember.
But when she sees a doll, she has that like core like chill that like gets to her regardless. Like something in her psyche remembers, you know.
She don't remember any like that's an apparent and part of the like the mother always asking too of like you remember your prayer, you remember to do your prayers, and
Say your prayers.
she goes, well mom I never, they actually scared, like they was scared of them, and like it's kind of like good because you actually are not a religious person.
Yeah. Don't pray. It's not worth it because I've already sealed your fate.
Yeah.
I did relate to that though, because as a small child, I was actually scared of my prayers.
Scared.
The part where they go,
Deliver
if I die before I wake, we had to come up. My mom came up with like a different rhyme. I don't remember what hers was, but she came up with a better one that was like.
For me, it was the part of deliver us from just hearing the word evil, and then the phrasing of a witch's stand, like thinking of a witch, because we had with the Snow White cover with the evil witch on it.
Sure.
I'm talking about like 5, 6
years. No, like the age where your mom is putting you to bed and you're saying your prayers with your mommy there. Yeah, I get it.
That's really cute. Your mom changed the thing, like, all right, we can't say that.
We'll do prayers, but we won't. Yeah, we won't say that. She's like, she came up with something else.
But her mother is a religious nut hoarder.
Yeah, love the hoarder house. I like that when during the one phone call, she's like, what were you doing that like you couldn't get to the phone? Why'd you have to let it ring so long? And Alicia Witt's like, oh, I'm just trying to go through some things around here. Like classic hoarder behavior, like, oh, I was just picking through my trash pile, you know? God, right, tripped over it, trying to get to the phone and shit.
Have you ever gone to a real hoarder's house? Like, have you ever been to like a real hoarder's, not like a pack rat?
I mean,
I will say I haven't like been over someone.
Yeah, actually, you know what? My friend growing up, his mom, like their house was pretty much a hoarder house.
Sad. I mean, I kind of know one from growing up. I would more because they just had a lot of like books and shit.
Yeah.
But I can look back and think. Because I used to do solar, set up things up door to door at Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Remember this one house knocked on? I could swear you fucking like kind of could smell it from the door.
Oh, I believe it.
And I remember they opened but you have to be professional in there.
Yeah.
Open the door, and I just remember seeing the person like I will say the person like just older, like normal. Piles of trash. You kind of look in, but you don't walk in because there's just piles of trash, and going, well, I'm just gonna do it. Would you like some of this? And then him going, oh no, but I think you guys were here, and going, wait a minute, and runs and grabs like someone else's flyer from one of the piles of trash.
Yeah, like you were here. I have your flyer. You were here before.
And I was like, oh no, we're good. Like, and then like walking, and be like, oh fuck, I've never. It was the only other time I had ever really experienced like a true like what you would see on hoarders.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. The person was kind, but anyway. No, the detail of their house being tiny and full of shit, and her just being like, "I save everything." Great.
Well, a couple different times too. Alicia Witt talks about how like it was just her and Lee, and nobody came to visit them, and nobody checked on them, and they were just alone. So like that's hoarder mentality too. Like when you're by yourself and all you have are your things, and like it's just you and your stuff, you know. People can't. Oh, was it? What do they say? They're always like, oh, things can't abandon me. That's when they're trying to guilt their on hoarders, and they're trying to guilt their kids.
Well, this one mother did a little more than that.
So now this is where we go to see Kieran Shipka, right?
They go right to the thing.
After they go to she was the surviving girl. She did not get murdered. We find out she's basically been catatonic since the murders happened.
And you get this great performance by this, just like that's what's that weird, like they say, like that's that like Lynchianness to it. It's like here's this one little like flamboyant character that's gonna feel out of place from the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I love her little accent, the way she talks, and like her little kind of speech patterns. It's a really great scene. Mm-hmm. I like how much she likes Longlegs. Like that, what felt like a like a deviation from what you would normally see, where like she was like, do you remember who came to see you? And you would expect the Kieran Shipka character to be like, get nervous and get scared, but no, it's
She's
the
like,
other
"Oh,
way.
great."
She's like, I hope I see him again. I hope I never forget him.
Just
If he
happy as
asked me to do
peaches.
anything, I'd do it. I'm like,
Just
it's so
happy as
good.
peaches.
Yeah, it's so good.
You asked me to jump out of this building right now. I'd just do it. Just happy
I'd
as
be
peaches.
so happy to see the Earth coming toward me, just
But she also mentions too, which is interesting, about Lee Harker. Oh, I've seen you before.
and then she says, or somebody who looked a lot
Yeah.
like you.
And her mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, she's talking about her mom delivering the doll.
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
It's just so great.
Yeah, Joe, I saw the movie 3 times.
Yeah, I know. That's what
I
we're
know
trying.
what the movie is.
Sorry. Oh, we did. The one thing we did, and I am looking at my note. We did get our first shot of like just Longlegs doing chores before this.
I mentioned it a little bit when they were doing the autopsy. We see him because it's I noted the 45-minute mark.
Yeah, he's driving around. The woman, the worker goes, the guy's back. He's fucking
the interaction with the girl at the hardware store is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. It's so funny.
And
it also speaks to later when they have the world's shortest manhunt for Longlegs, because like as soon as they put his description out, they find him, because I'm sure this girl was like, yeah, I see that dude all the time. He comes into my hardware store, because like so distinct looking.
He's just waiting. He knows. Yeah. But do that. They have all this stuff. They're happy as peaches. Involved with this. The police, the FBI, her boss, is like, Harker, something's up, and your mother.
I like this too. I like that they make Blair Underwood not a moron.
Yeah,
like he's not just the dumb boss who's like, huh, when shit keeps happening. He's like, no, the minute you join this investigation, shit started popping off. He's like, and like and also all this stuff about your birthday, and like he's just piecing it all. He's putting the pieces together.
He's putting pieces together. He's doing his job. He's like, the case started immediately, falling in place, because only over like this thing I realized was in my second
couple days.
It's like 3 days.
Yeah.
And
well, actually, I would say it's probably within 6 days of the 14th, which is when her birthday is.
So a few, yeah. But he goes, yeah, we have a record actually of your mother calling on the day before your birthday in the early 70s. Can you find this out from your mother? And we know she's like, okay.
This is the first scene where we actually see Alicia. We've talked about it a little bit already.
She goes to
going to the house, the hoarder house.
She finally goes to her house. We see Alicia Dewitt, and this way, so you really see her, like, they're just in this room. They're just clit around. And that is when she says, like I said earlier, of like, she's kind of in a fog, but she's like, I don't remember those things, but I saved everything.
Yeah.
And this is when Lee Harker remembers. Oh, or not remembers. She's like, I have a photograph. I took a photograph.
Well, she just knows. She's like, oh, my mom saved everything, so she starts going through her stuff. She goes in and she finds this old stack of photos.
You know what's so funny? They do this, like, this movie will occasionally do, like, weird graphical edits of things. Mm-hmm. They do one of those before she opens her, like, the toy chest with the photos in it. It has, like, cutouts. It's very, like, Gen X,
yeah.
It's like almost like a 90s music video. It reminds me of the fucking intro from Biodome.
Yeah. Like when she's going through the pictures and she actually sees the picture of Longlegs, it like deals her a +2 psychic damage, and she's like, ah! That's and they do like a crazy neon edit, and like
it's the Biodome opening credits.
Yeah.
It's just out of place, where it's just like cutouts of magazines and neon shit and things, and you're like, huh, what movie am I watching? And you're like,
yeah, it does have that little moment. I like that, her little, like, I don't know, flashback or whatever it is.
It's so out of place. It's like it happens a few times. But she goes to that, and that's when she's able to go, I have the I have this, use this. And that's when we get Longlegs. And this is where the movie's influence just turns into the Dark Knight, the Joker and the Dark Knight.
I was actually, I want to give him a little more credit than that. I was going to say it's a little bit Clarice Starling and Hannibal, and it's a little bit John Doe from Seven.
Him getting picked up as John Doe from Seven. The interrogation scene is straight up fucking.
See, I feel like it's John Doe in the back seat on the way. Like, he's doing the same thing. He's pontificating. He's basically like giving up the plan because he knows what he's about to do. He knows he's coming to his like big finale, you know.
I give you 1 point. I give you that.
We skipped over a little bit, just real quick. When she has her, flashback from the picture, we get to see kind of more of the full interaction of what happened when she was a kid. Yes. And we really get the full, like, metal song as a magic spell, where even like his voice has some effect to it, where it's got a little bit of like it's fun. I really enjoy that element of it. Come back as many times as I want. So good. I just love it.
And her mother comes running over, just like, who the fuck are you? Like normal at this point. Like, who the fuck are you?
She's very normal. She's got her normal haircut,
He's like, I'll be back.
Yeah. And now that's the thing. It's like, I guess you're supposed to think it's after that encounter she made the phone call. And then when we see, there's another flashback we see where somebody pulls up outside the house and she gets the shotgun, and I assume that's him coming back, and that's when he kind of like gets her, like, you know what I mean,
offers her the choice and ultimatum, because eventually very much not last scene, but towards the end, we get Alicia Witt's voiceover generally.
Right, yeah. If we want to talk about the interrogation a little bit before we get into that,
the interrogation.
I didn't mean to throw us off.
No, I think the interrogation. Honestly, that if I'm going breaking scenes, that's like second, because I truly really like Kieran Shipka's scene more so. But the interrogation scene is Cage. I mean,
it's honestly what the movie was kind of selling, like Cage in his full persona, giving us the full Like I said, he's having his Bond villain moment. He's like, he's like not 100% telling his plan, but giving you enough. Like,
happy birthday, Lee Harker.
Yeah.
And sings her that, and she's like, how long was it? 24 minutes. Did it for 24, and then she goes in and they have what she didn't really do. He just talks to her about.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about they do have after they pick him up, they're watching the Sarah Connor video, him and then they pause it on the most psychotic face ever for he's like in the background of the
there's like 5 FBI agents, me being one of them, be like, can you just fast forward a little bit?
How about we just, instead of pause, how about stop? Let's just stop the video.
Turn off.
Blue screen's fine.
This guy's creeping me out.
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't want to look at that. That's fucked up.
Don't stare.
And then she goes in to do a real interrogation, and incredible scene. One thing I gotta make my complaint. I think we need to retire the face smash for a while. We have Hereditary. Talk to Me just did it too, and then we
Talk to Me's was I'm making a trip down memory face smash lane.
Yeah, brutal.
Talk to Me's was a lot more disturbing.
I would say this one and Talk to Me are like on a different level than what he does in Hereditary, but I feel like Hereditary got the ball rolling on this.
Hereditary is a different.
Yeah.
That's a. Oh, you're thinking of when he puts his head on.
I'm thinking about when he smashes.
Sorry.
I mean specifically when he doesn't. Now he doesn't go as far as they go.
No,
but
they go.
I feel like that got the ball rolling. I
think I rephrase this. I think Talk to Me is I felt more empathy and sympathy to that because of who it was.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think
they're both equally pretty brutal.
Yeah, like Talk to Me is more of like, ooh, like, it sounds weird to say because it's not real, but you go, ooh, your lives are ruined. Like, this is there's ain't no coming back from this one. you know, in Longlegs, I'm watching the serial killer do it.
Well, and also his face had already been restructured
Yeah.
so many times. You know, this
Yeah.
is just a fresh, clean slate for him.
Yeah, it's fun. It's crazy. It's fun the way he performs it and the way the face falls off.
It's so fun that they show it again right before the end of the movie.
And we'll go to that because that's such
Hey,
it's such a way to end it. It's such a head scratcher, and that's where I'm like, oh, the movie does like just kind of want to fuck with you a little bit by just ending with him and giving the nice
little
puppy
kiss,
kiss lips. So.
But with that though, Nick Cage exits the movie, and I wonder. I'd like to see a breakdown of how much screen time he actually has. I bet it's under 15 minutes.
I mean, yeah, maybe that seems like 7 minutes, maybe. So you're probably right. Like we're right. Yeah.
Impactful though. I'd have given him an Oscar nom. You're gonna nominate Demi. You can nominate Nick.
Yeah, I think you put this movie out a little further, and
maybe
who knows?
Maybe it happens.
I think Neon. I mean, I have a little Oscar talk there. I think Neon probably went. We threw everything at the fucking kitchen sink to try to get him nominated for Pig.
Yeah, he should have been nominated for Pig. Pig's an incredible movie.
Which should have been a win even at that.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest injustices since Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And I could see like whoever does those things being like, because we don't have it because
and again it's like anybody who thought Demi was gonna win was deluding themselves anyway.
Well, the thing with Demi, I actually thought she was gonna win just because like of what she was winning. But I think Demi's nomination... I think
off the back of the idea of it being a Lifetime Achievement Oscar for her, I could see her winning that. But she was never, I'm not surprised they didn't choose this role to give it to her.
Yeah, but there was never a big... Yeah, in the Lifetime Achievement, it's like you weren't like you weren't Meryl Streep if Meryl Streep never had
Wait, you're not Harrison Ford, who's never won an Oscar, but has made like so many memorable characters. Yeah. I mean, that's not nothing from Demi to take away from Demi Moore, but...
I think her little award run... Not little, that means that her award run was a surprise, and then Neon also won Best Picture and Best Actress still too.
Right.
I'm sorry, it wasn't Neon who had that was Mubi.
Yeah.
Mubi said, "Oh, we have some money. We're going to invest in promoting you." Sorry, I got my production companies. Like, we're going to invest this, but it wasn't a premeditated investment.
Yeah.
Like, no one, because The Substance loved it, had a ton of fun with it. The way I've explained it to everyone, it is a glorified modern Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah.
That has great acting.
Well, that's what I've heard. It's like that's why the Oscars love it, because it wasn't subtle. It's a bang you over the head with the message type movie, which is exactly what the Oscars like.
I've explained to a lot of people. I'm like, I don't know if you'll like it. It is a schlock 80s horror, and it's not hiding from that.
Yeah.
And our body horror, and you probably won't like it after a certain point. And kind of was proven right, because most people who watched it that are like your normies go, it was good, and all of a sudden, ugh.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All of a sudden, it turns into Society at the end.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a fucking Society. So, Cage, I think, could have an awards run, but I definitely think... Sorry, Neon was like, we're worried about Anora this year.
And they made the right choice.
Yeah, like, that was actually a phenomenal movie.
I haven't seen that one either, and I'm
generally one of the well-deserved Best Picture winners of recent memory. So welcome to Oscar Talk while we try to wrap up here. I'm just no, it's not like The Dentist where we were just like we're like we don't want to talk about the fucking movie.
No, this is a deep well, and it's just bringing up lots of conversations because it's so rich. Full.
Yeah, no, but that interrogation scene, you're right. That's the heels of the movie. That is, we just mentioned early in this conversation, you know, the marketing of first time I saw him, they had me mic'd up and my heart rate going.
Yeah, my heart was racing so hard you could hear it in the mic, and it was like
That's what it
140
was.
beats a
And,
minute
like,
or something. And
you know, that's the only scene they share together. So in theory, like,
yeah,
Nick
absolutely.
Cage was probably on this set for like 8 out of the 20-day shoot they had. I don't know how long this
And
shoot
I
was.
think it's like his look as Longlegs is very carefully crafted because it's almost it's unsettling, bordering on comical though. You know what I mean? He's almost there. He could very easily fall into a camp, but I think it avoids that trap. I think he's legitimately very scary.
Yeah, I think he is, and like I said, I think he's very, but it does borderline. I could see where some walked away going.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It worked for
I
me.
can see where it wouldn't work for everybody, but like I said, like the singing and the like him in the car screaming and singing to himself. I love when they recreate that here after she runs when she's leaving the house after she goes but she's screaming in the car. It's very much feels like Longlegs.
Oh, there's some his cars, his just screaming and that, and like the true warped brain of a man who's just working. He's just working for the devil.
Well, I think that's why part of what makes him so scary is he seems so unhinged and so like untethered from reality. You know what I mean? So he's like a wild card at any moment. You cannot predict him. He's a legitimate crazy person.
Can I read a thing that I didn't scroll? I should have done this before. Oz Perkins said the inspiration for this story is actually really interesting. He said the film was inspired by his mother's treatment towards his father. His father's Anthony Perkins. His father's sexuality, shielding the public and the Perkins children from their knowledge of his homosexual relationships. Quoted saying, "Your mother can protect you from a truth that she thinks is unsavory, and then you just build out a crazy movie around that." And like knowing that knowledge, I'm like, oh, well, like
I knew that about Anthony Perkins, that he struggled with sexuality, and that
I'm talking about the concept of the movie of like the mother doing what she thinks is the right and all that. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting.
Well, yeah, we're getting in there because like that's what's kind of revealed. They go after the interrogation. They go to bring in the mom to question her again. And yeah, it's kind of revealed that the whole idea is that she took on Longlegs. He's making these dolls. He's putting the devil in the dolls, but he's too creepy looking to get the dolls. Like at first, he's trying to do the thing that she ends up doing too, but that's what he's doing with Lee. He's all like, hey, but he's too creepy. He sets off Alicia Witt's radar. So he needs somebody who can like get the doll in the door without freaking everybody out. And so he enlists Alicia Witt. She pretends to be a nun, and she takes these people a life-size doll and tells them they won some sweepstakes they never entered, which is weird.
From the church and this, and it immediately hypnotizes both. It's very sinister.
Well, basically, like once it's in the house, that's all it takes. It happens pretty quickly because she usually waits it out. She stays.
It's very the way like the Sinister tapes work almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, oh, okay, here you go. Okay, well, now someone from your family is going to murder or take a family side.
Yeah. It's usually the dad. It's like the doll makes the dad go crazy and kill everybody.
And the mom just sits there lovingly and politely.
The mom might do some crazy stuff on her own because when they flash back to Kieran Shipka's family, the mom is like stabbing the doll and kind of cutting herself.
I have only for you, a bone to pick with the production, the packaging design.
Oh,
of the 4K.
Okay.
It's Kieran Ship on the back of it. It's a good cover. It's just the red eyes, but on the back of it, it's just clearly what they thought was the creepiest image.
Yeah.
But it was like the mom, Kieran Ship's mother, playing with the knife she does.
Yeah, like she basically runs the knife around her on her own C-section scar.
But it's like such a large photo on the back around like the write-up, where it makes you go, oh, who the fuck? I don't remember her in the movie.
Yeah.
That was
Makes her
so,
seem
I
like a
was-
main character. She's in like one scene. She doesn't even have any lines.
and she's like cutting herself. Anyway, it was very like, oh, that's a choice. Don't need to go on that tangent about
Hey, that's
that.
okay. This show's about people love the tangents.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So we get this reveal though of finally, we get the voiceover, like you're saying, of delivering the dolls, and they're connected.
Well, we see she kills the agent that's there with her, and then we see this is the first we finally see Lee's doll, and Alicia Witt's out there with
That's
Lee's
the second
doll.
time she has her big no crazy because
when she reacts the same way to seeing her own doll again, like obviously she didn't remember it, but like she has this visceral reaction to it.
What a brutal fucking kill! Just a little before that of her friend or the agent.
Why does she shoot her from both sides? It's so fucked up. She has double barrel shotgun at point blank range, and then she walks back around the car and shoots her from the other side again. There must have been nothing left.
No, on the second watch, I was like, oh my god, like the signs are there, like the car windows down, like she's waiting, and like if you watch that agent, you watched it 3 times. You watched her friend, the other agent. She's the one who always has this look of this fucking girl, like
this is bullshit. I can't believe we're entertaining this kind of.
Always has this look. Like I noticed it towards
the
end.
There's a really cool thing they do that I noticed too when she's sitting there and Alicia Witt is first coming up to the car. She's not walking. She's like gliding.
Oh.
Alicia Witt is almost not like you cannot register like footsteps. She just kind of is like hovering toward the car. It's really cool.
That's creepy.
And I mean, it was either the way Alicia Witt was moving, and maybe she's just something she did, or they purposely did it. But it looks great. It's very ethereal.
And she has that long dress on, in the way,
she's got the nun outfit kind of going.
Yeah.
Also, of course, we have to note that when she does shoot the doll of Lee, we see like a bit of a whiff of like smoke, kind of
black smoke comes out from
Lee's head, and we're supposed to get the impression that I think she loses her gift with that.
She does. That's what I
no more psychic powers.
And this is like the mother, I guess, kind of being trying to now protect her mother, because what she says is, she goes, oh my, he's dead, like he's gone, like okay, Longlegs is no more. And I think she shoots the doll thinking, okay, I kind of could get my daughter. I still have to put this mission. I still have to deliver the mission. But my daughter.
Let Lee, but Lee is free. Like, I've done my.
That's how I read it, because why else would she shoot the doll?
Because the only person who was going to hurt Lee was Longlegs if I didn't do my job. I'm still going to finish my job because I've been doing it so long. I'm fully invested now.
Yeah,
but Lee is safe. I can release her.
She has that. I just keep bringing her fucking voiceover. It starts her voiceover of the great line in of, I used to be a nurse. Now I work for state and I kill people.
I do have to say the voiceover was a little bit much. A little less is more on the voiceover. I could have used.
Well, it explains
they really
everything.
Kind of. Again, spoon feed and handhold through every little facet that I didn't necessarily need. It's a little bit talky. There's some really good parts of it, so I wouldn't lose it all together. I just feel like maybe brevity.
I think you just don't need as much as flashback, like, because I mean, like, you get into the point of like we saw like, so like, oh, Longlegs came in and tied her up and was beating her, and like, what she watching.
And the doll was there on the couch, and Satan was in the room with the girl, and
it's a bit much.
Like I said, I don't think it's bad. Like I think there is some good stuff to it, but I did find myself being like, this voiceover's too much. It's too hand-holdy. There's too much like he didn't. I just feel like maybe in the last minute they didn't trust the audience enough.
Yeah, I think there were just some things that they're like, let's get out. Let's get out there.
Yeah.
Like here's how we got from point A to point B, and because then she's also just like I said, that's their basement.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. She wakes up after the doll gets shot. She passes out. We see the flashback. We get the voiceover. Then Lee wakes up. She's in Longlegs like lair.
Mhm.
We know that. She doesn't know where she is, but we know it's Longlegs lair. She goes upstairs, and that's when it's revealed that it's their house. That's what's been behind the locked door. Longlegs has been living in her mom's basement. Um, I did think it was funny. Like, that's a cool reveal. Like, oh my God, he was there the whole time. But the reveal of the fact that his car was there and it's the same car from like the 70s, and she drives, like her getting in and driving his car was kind of funny to me. Like, I like.
It's been 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like. Like the fact that her screaming the way he was screaming as he sang and stuff, like the parallel there, but was kind of, I was almost like, all right, do a little less, Oz. I get it, but you could have like pulled this back a little bit.
No, and according to people who've seen the monkey, it doesn't get much.
Well, the monkey specifically it's like Final Destination style. It's like way over the top, right? Like,
yeah, and it's like satire. It's like that's horror comedy.
But this is also where she gets that creepy call we talked about, who is maybe, I mean, it's a phone ringing in Alicia Witt's house. Maybe that's who was calling Alicia Witt and fucking with her too, you know?
I mean, what does...
It's the man downstairs.
It's the man supposing is a nun, blah, blah, blah. Lee awakens in the basement. It just says where a demonic voice warns her about William's daughter, Ruby.
Well, yeah, he's basically like, you're going to miss Ruby's birthday, And so, she goes running over there. The prophecy is fulfilled. I knew this family was doomed.
What a funny call on your end of just like...
I was just immediately, as soon as I saw Blair Underwood's family, I was like, oh, that's not good. I do like that they throw you a little bit. When she first gets there, things do seem kind of normal at first for a second.
They?
Well, when they answer the door, like when they come to the door,
I disagree with that because she just watched. This is all in one fucking day. She just watched the serial killer bash his face in, and was so distraught, was driven home by an FBI agent, and then shows up at the house, and the guy just goes, "Hey, you made it. Come on through." Like,
well, yeah, I guess I mean by normal, he's acting like normal dad on a birthday, not normal how he should be reacting to what's been going on.
No,
you know,
that character, what is fucking, Carter.
Yeah.
Because the way he's acting, everyone would have been like, "What the fuck are you doing here, Lee?" Like I get what you're saying. He was normal and jovial.
Also, we didn't talk about. But he's actually pissed at her when Longlegs kills himself. He kind of blames her. He's like, you had to go in there and talk to him. We had him. We could have, now we got nothing. And so he's actually kind of pissed. So you're not wrong that like his kind of excitement to see her feels out of place. But I feel like it doesn't like belie how crazy stuff's about to get,
Oh no, that's even, and then we go into truly like the Twilight Zone of...
Yeah. This might be, I know it's cliche to be like the climax of the movie might be my favorite scene, but it's not just the climax. It's like the performances. The performance of the mom is incredible. Yeah. The way she is fighting to get, like, it almost reminds me of Get Out, where like you can see a performance behind the performance, where like she is struggling to come through this fake facade, and the fact that you can tell is good acting,
Well, that was definitely intentional, like your good observation, because like her face does look like pain to be like, no,
she even like she almost gets out a little like at one point, like she's almost like
but yeah, so she Blair Underwood is there, and he's like, no, sit down, and the daughter is just like hugging this doll, like
just obsessed with the doll. She's just like locked in on this doll.
And Alicia DeWitt, Alicia Witt is just fucking sitting there, also going,
looking,
what are you
pretty
doing?
Crazy, she's got the eyes now.
Yeah, she's full, and Blair Underwood was like, well, what do we need to cut that over? We need cake. Let's go in. And it's like, all right, he come fucking murders
The whole
the wife.
exchange of let's go to the kitchen, we'll be right back. Well, I'll be back. You'll still be in the kitchen. Like I love the kind of casualness of the possession. The way that it's like they're very matter of fact. They don't know they're possessed, but they're just kind of like acting in this unnatural way. I really enjoy all that.
He has one like outburst of like, doesn't say like sit down bitch, but like that aggressive tone of like, oh, no one's going out of their role right here. Like, this is the person that's
he does like he's kind of cheery at the door, but by the time they come in the living room, he's immediately giving off like abusive dad vibe, you know, like. And
so he, you know, William murders his wife in the kitchen, comes out, and
while they're off doing the murder, we have another scene where Alicia gets to do another little monologue, actually, where because she had explained what happened with how she started, but then this monologue kind of shows us how she like got into it. Like it started off as this horrible thing she had to do, but she just like threw herself into the work kind of. And now she's like full in. It ends with that great shot of her in the habit with like the blood on her. And she's got her hands up like this.
That
and just
was that might be our thumbnail. That was the creepiest. That might not be. I don't know. That was the creepiest thing for me in the marketing. Like looking at that, like, you know, black silhouette over the red. Like it's creepy and great imagery and you know.
It was, and like I said, I actually, you know, I like that voiceover again. Like that one's perfect. There's not too much in that one. You know, they don't go on too long. She doesn't talk too much. She just hits it right. And they have the great little scene there. And then we have our full final kind of like confrontation. Blair Underwood comes back out of the kitchen covered in his wife's blood.
And he's still trying to go, and she pops
him a couple times. And then Alicia Witt comes after.
She comes up with a knife. She comes up with a.
I hope she calls her mom, and the last thing she's saying is, "Don't call me that." Like she doesn't want her to call her mom anymore.
Bam! Right in the head.
Pops her right in the dome. Tries to shoot the doll, and should still have shots left in that gun, but it will not fire.
And that's what I was wondering. Does she end up killing? Does she get? Is she? And then so the. That's where our story does end, in the sense of the story. Is she able to smash that doll and free Blair Underwood's child?
Well, yeah, like what we know is if they kind of like put that doll in a box and put a cross on the box, the girl would probably go into like a coma.
That's what I'm saying. We just know.
She'd be like catatonic, kind of.
So, you know, she hopefully Biker Monroe tried destroying.
Came back with a different gun and finished the job, but for some reason her pistol would not allow her to shoot, and it is kind of left a little open-ended there.
It's open-ended there because it ends on the. We'll go back to Longlegs. Just go more.
Cut back to his video from the surveillance, from the interrogation.
You know, Hail Satan, and it ends and kiss and yeah, dude, I'm glad we talked about this. This is a fun.
Well, yeah, it was nice to get back and do another, like, a big year for horror. 2024 was a big year for horror, so nice to get back and do maybe the biggest horror movie of 2024. Right. Probably, undoubtedly, the biggest.
Right? Yeah.
Also, I just saw Smile 2 popped up on Prime, so I'll probably be checking that out soon.
I think you'll like Smile 2. I really like Smile 2. Those are the two horror, or other oddity. That when I was like, oh cool, they're on like a Blu-ray sale or a 4K sale, I picked up right away. I was like, I want them. I want them in the slipcover.
Yeah, give me that slipcover, baby.
Yeah, you gotta get on shit early to get slips.
I just picked up. Well, it hasn't come yet because fucking Amazon's dragging its ass. But Bodies was on sale, $9.99. I picked it up.
You were a fan of it.
I did. I know. I didn't hit for you this much.
Did not. I
like those social horrors. There's been a couple of them that have come out recently. That was, like All My Friends Hate Me was a good one, or is that?
this is a whole different. I remember seeing Bodies real quick. I remember seeing Bodies back when Best Buy had discs, and I had not seen it yet, and that was almost like a $13 blind buy, and I did not buy it.
Good. That's good.
But that's Longlegs. Is about what I gotta say for it. As I'm good, you're good.
Yeah,